Welcome to the Vari Longmuir Podcast, episode number 5. Welcome to the Vari Longmuir Podcast, and as you may have guessed, I'm your host, Vari. Since stepping away from the 9-to-5 world back in 2009, I've been a creative director, illustrator, artist, business mentor, and coach to fellow creative types. The intention with this podcast is to offer a fresh perspective about what it really means to be a working creative. I'll offer some simple strategies to add a little more joy to your days and share stories and insights from my own lessons learned, often the hard way, from over a decade of being my own boss. Now let's get into today's episode. Hi guys, and welcome to this week's podcast. It's great to have you here. This week we're going to be talking about how to get what you want immediately. Now this episode is a little different in format than previous episodes. It's a little bit more of a class than just my usual weekly musings on one particular subject. So if you can, grab a pen and a piece of paper and do this exercise right along with me as you listen to the episode. If you don't have a piece of paper and a pen to hand, or you're in the car driving somewhere, then that's all good. I've created a free worksheet to accompany this class. You'll find this free worksheet in the resources hub. So I'm going to be sharing all of the free classes and worksheets that accompany podcast episodes like this one over on my website. To get access, just head on over to the website, varilongmuir.com, and join my newsletter. In your welcome email, you'll get the password to the resources hub, where all the materials that accompany episodes like this one will be kept. So regardless of when you're listening to this particular episode, you'll have access to all the worksheets and all the resources that go along with it. So let's dive into today's episode. Just last week, I was reviewing the first half of this year and making some tweaks and changes to the second half and what I have planned for the remainder of the year to help me achieve some of the goals that I set for myself back in December and January. This is something that I do in my work life with my illustration work and also the art that I sell, and in my coaching business. And I also do it in my personal life as well. I think it's super important to have personal goals as well as professional ones, whether we have a creative job and we're an employee, or we have our own creative business, or we sell our own art. I think it's really important to set goals there, but it's also important to have some intentions in our personal life. So whether that's relationships in our life, or perhaps it's more of a health and well-being goal, you might want to lose weight, you might want to get fitter, you might want to run a marathon. I think it's really important that we also give some space for the things that we want to achieve personally as well as professionally. I love these little routine check-ins, and I do it at the half year point, and I also do a little review at the quarter mark as well. So after 3 months and then after 9 months, because it really allows me to reprioritize what I actually want to focus on in the second half of the year. And it re-energizes me as well. For those of you that don't know, I'm based down in Australia, and we've just gone into winter here in the last couple of days. So we get that mid-year slump, and we also go into winter. So we kind of get like a double hit of that dip in motivation at times. And it's funny because when it gets to November time, it gets to summer and we're leading up to Christmas and New Year. And it's such a fun time here in Australia, but often the pedal comes off the gas a little bit, and we can wrap the year up in late November and then not necessarily start the year until after Australia Day at the end of January. And then when it gets to the mid-year point, we all just want to go into hibernation and stay at home and not really do very much at all. So yeah, it's funny just to see where those peaks and troughs of the year can lie just with those seasonal changes. So to have those little regular check-ins really helps me to kind of reprioritize and re-energize myself and make any little tweaks or shifts that need to happen as I move through the rest of the year. So if you Google goal setting, you will get 940 million results. And I can tell you that that is 100% accurate because I just did it. I just Googled it. And that's exactly how many results you get for goal setting in 0.66 seconds. But most of these strategies are about getting stuff. It's about accumulating stuff or getting some kind of notoriety or fame around the work that we do. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just that the things that we want and the achievements that we're going after are a false destination. Now, stay with me. All will become clear very shortly. What I want you to do is grab that piece of paper and pen and draw 2 lines down the middle of your page. So you're going to separate your page into 3 columns. If you're using the downloadable worksheet, just jump straight to column 1 on that worksheet. Now, in that first column, I want you to write all the things you want, all those goals you have for the things you want are the things you want to accomplish. So those could be anything at all, and don't edit or restrict yourself here. Don't think that that is not spiritual enough to want that thing, that's being greedy or selfish to want that thing. We as humans are allowed to want whatever we want. So don't restrict yourself here and write it all down. So that column might contain things like a house by the beach or a particular car that you would like to have. It might be the perfect relationship that you want to have. With regards to work, it might be that you want to make X amount of dollars in sales of your artwork, or you might want to have a certain number of clients in your creative business every month or every quarter. It might be that you want X amount of dollars in the bank every month. It might be something like you want first class travel when you go on holiday with your family. It might be that you want a farm with a pony. It can be whatever you want. So in that first column, write down all the things that you want and put a time frame around it. I'd say either give yourself 6 months, and that takes us to the end of this year if you're listening to the podcast as it's being published, or it might be what you want to create in the next 12 months. But give yourself a timeline there of what it is that you want to create. Now we're going to move to column number 2. In the second column, I want you to imagine how you'll feel when you achieve or obtain those things that you've written down in column number 1. Because this is what most people don't realize. The reason that we want what we want is that we want to feel a certain way when we have it. So we want what we want because we think we'll feel better when we actually have it. So in column 2, I want you to imagine how you feel when you have achieved or accomplished those things. Let me give you some examples here. Say, for example, in the first column, you want to be booked out for 3 months with clients in your creative business. Now, the feeling that you might want to generate by having achieved that goal is perhaps a feeling of momentum. Another example, maybe you want to have a house by the beach. And the reason that you want that house by the beach is that you will generate a feeling of peace and tranquility when you have that. Perhaps you want the relationship with your perfect partner, and you imagine yourself feeling love and connection by having that relationship. So look at all the things you've written down in column number 1. And then in column number 2, write down how you imagine you'll feel when you've achieved or accomplished that particular thing. Now, in column 3, I want you to brainstorm ways that you can cultivate those feelings in column 2 today. So it takes us back to the name of this particular episode, how to get what we want immediately. If we go back to the examples that we spoke about in step 2, if we're looking to create that feeling of momentum, then how can we create a feeling of momentum today? So we might not be booked out for 3 months with clients in our creative business, but we can certainly do something else today that will create that same feeling of momentum, which is actually what we're going for. We want to be booked out with the clients for 3 months because we want to feel a sense of momentum in our business. So how can you create that momentum today in your business? How can you feel that sensation of momentum? It might be that you schedule in your calendar to pitch your product or service to 3 aligned businesses every single Monday. So you can plot out exactly who you're going to pitch to, and you can schedule that in your calendar so you know every Monday for the next, say, 4 to 6 weeks, you're going to pitch your product or service to 3 businesses that you would really love to work with. Having that scheduled out is going to give you a sense of momentum, and that, as we said, is what we're going for. That's why we want to be booked out for 3 months, is that we want to create that sense of momentum. So pick something that you can do today that will help generate that emotion right now. In the second example, the house by the beach, we want to create that feeling of peace and tranquility. So we think that having a house by the beach will make us feel peaceful and tranquil, but we can generate those emotions of peace and tranquility today. So if living by the beach is something that you dream of, then perhaps today, after you finish your work or after dinner, you might drive to the beach and go for a walk. You can generate that feeling of being by the beach and being peaceful and being tranquil without having to have the physical house there on the beach. In the third example, where we want to have that perfect relationship with our perfect dream partner, the feeling that we want to generate is one of love and connection. So have a think, how can you create that feeling of love and connection today before that partner appears? It might be that you send a handwritten card to a friend or to a family member and send it in the mail, not an email, but a handwritten card telling them why you love them and why your relationship is so special with them. That lets you take control and generate that feeling of love and connection. And that's what I really love about this concept, is it puts us in control. It empowers us to create the feelings that we want to create in our life without feeling like we need something external, something out with of ourselves in order to create that feeling. We've been conditioned to think that we'll be happy when. We'll be happy when we get the car. We'll be happy when we get the partner. We'll be happy when we get the money in the bank. But as Wayne Dyer said, we get what we are, not what we want. And this is such a crucial difference here. When we want from a place of lack, we won't get ourselves to that place we want to be. When we want from a place of already having, that's when we realize those goals that we've set for ourselves. Because we attract what we are, right? So if we want more clients to feel a sense of momentum, then we have to create that momentum first, and only then will the clients come. And often people think, this is super frustrating. I just want the clients. I just want the money in the bank. I just want the partner. But we need to be able to cultivate those emotions before we can receive those other things that we have on our want list, on our to-do list. If we want the house by the beach to feel tranquil, then we need to cultivate a sense of tranquility now. And there are so many different ways we can do that. Most of the people listening to this podcast are artists and creative business owners. So this is a chance for us to really flex that creative muscle. We get to choose how we want to cultivate that feeling today in our lives. If we want that loving relationship, we'll only be able to receive and be open to that if we can show appreciation for the love and connection we have in our life today. Flipping these wants and desires on their head like this was a complete game changer for me, and I've watched the same thing happen for my clients. We think we are at the mercy of all our wants and desires, and we have that feeling that we'll be happy once we achieve them and once we accumulate those things. But those emotions are available to us right in this moment today. So take a look at those list of wants that you have. And then more importantly, pay attention to the feelings that you want to cultivate. There will be opportunities in each and every day, from the biggest thing to the smallest thing, to create those emotions in your day. If it's peace, it might just be 5 minutes with a cup of tea in the afternoon before the kids come home from school. If it's a sense of abundance, it might be being out in the sunshine and enjoying the sunshine whilst you're having that cup of tea. There are ways that we can create these feelings and emotions if we open ourselves up and just get creative about what actually is available to us every single moment of every single day. It's so liberating and empowering to know that we can feel the way we want to feel before the physical things or those actual specific people are in our actual physical lives. Our reality is created by how we choose to think about the circumstances of our lives. We can view it from a place of not enoughness and a place of lack and a place of victimhood. We can look to our past to say, this person in this circumstance is the reason I don't have these things that I want. Or we can choose to create opportunities and experiences that give us access to those feelings immediately. It's so empowering to know that you have the power to create those emotions that you want to experience in your life today. Just to add a little more context, an example from my own life where this played out for me was when I started offering my illustration services in my business. So for those of you that have been in this space with me for a while, you'll know that I started my business initially as a graphic designer and a brand designer. And then I moved into doing more illustration work for private clients and also for brands. And I was also getting my coaching business off the ground as well. So I was working with coaching clients. Now, back in these early days, I was doing some illustrations either for free or for not a lot of money at all. And I was also coaching clients, again, for free, who were friends or family, who were happy to be my guinea pigs, or for a really small amount of money. And there was one day that I caught myself just being kind of a bit down in the dumps with myself and a bit pissed off that I wasn't where I wanted to be. And then when I reviewed what I actually wanted to create in my life, I realized that I was doing the work that I dreamed of doing. I was living the life that I wanted to do. I was in charge of my own schedule. I was able to spend my days drawing for clients and coaching clients. And that was my absolute dream. But I wasn't appreciating it because I wasn't where I thought I would be. So for me to reframe that and realize, okay, maybe I'm not at the level of income that I want to be at, but I'm getting to do the work that I've always dreamed of doing, and being able to just reframe that moment and realizing that I had an opportunity to cultivate those feelings of abundance in that moment. I was in charge of my own schedule. I was able to choose the work that I wanted to do. I was able to choose the clients I wanted to work with. I had such freedom, which is a cornerstone of my life and my business. It was such a liberating feeling to realize that I can choose to feel those feelings right now, regardless of the money that was coming in. And from that place, that's when my business really took off, from a place of already appreciating the abundance and the freedom that I had in my business. And by being in that place, that's what attracted more of that to me. That's all for this week, guys. For updates and to access the downloadable worksheet that accompanies this episode, be sure and subscribe to my newsletter over at varilongmuir.com. And come follow me on Instagram. I'm at Vari Longmuir. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you guys next week. If you enjoyed this podcast, I'd love for you to come check out my private coaching service for artists and creatives. Maybe you're struggling to commit to just one of the hundreds of ideas you have. Or perhaps your confidence has taken a bit of a dive after that epic fail. Regardless of what you're struggling with, a single coaching session can give you the focus and clarity you need to make the next right move for you. Head on over to varilongmuir.com/coaching for more information and to book your session.